It's okay to look. You don't have to know the answer. Somebody else probably have found the answer. De Kooning might have found that answer, or Louis Bourgeois, and it's okay.
I think the thing that is really important to say is that all artists steal from other artists. They all do it. But I don't think there's been a show where an artist says, actually, these are who the people I steal from. And more importantly, this is why. We've given over this gallery for Alvaro to make it an extension of his studio. But these are artists that he steals from. So the purpose of this show really is about seeing from Alvaro's perspective.
And I think of myself as someone who thinks about the long history and of people putting pigments together and putting it on a surface and putting images together and putting it on a surface, and the sort of long history of cultures who have engaged in this act of making. And I think of it in terms of how do you bring such a long history in order to reflect a lot of the experiences that I've seen and been through.
I think that's the thing about being an artist. It's a highly selective editing process that goes on consciously and unconsciously every waking moment and in sleep. They approach it from why it's important for their own work, what they see in it, which is different to how other people see, because artists see differently. I'm very fascinated by this whole idea of seeing, to see well. It's incredibly difficult. I feel thrilled to have this late de Kooning work here in this gallery, which is focused on the line. So this whole room is devoted to that, the way artists use a line. And we decided not to call it drawing, but rather the line, because it kept the whole discussion much more open. Trying to find out or seeing more or learning more from a discussion with an artist is really a privilege.
And I think looking is a skill that we have to develop. I mean, we have eyes, but we don't really know how to use it. And people teach us how to use it, and artists teach us how to use it. Art is always about being. It's always about looking. And I think artists are always exploring what things are and what they could become and the possibilities within things. So when we were putting the artists together, there were a few artists who immediately I knew I wanted to be in the show because they're sort of my heroes. People like Thornton Dahl and a lot of the Southern artists were very integral to me feeling like I could take risk as a painter. A lot of my work deal with my family and the history I come from, and so Bourgeois is one of those artists that there isn't a single moment that I'm not really referencing her or stealing from her. So this section is image and metaphor, and so one of the things that link all the work in the section together is when is the depiction of an object linked to it being about something else, or when is it about a deeper exploration of the material or of painting, for example.
The challenge was to keep it open enough so that the connections could be made by the people who see the show. I mean, in the end, I think everything's about connection, and the connection to oneself. And so, for me, it is the people who walk in here, they will be introduced to artists that they weren't familiar with. They will get to know Alvaro's work. They will look at the juxtapositions and say, oh, that's interesting, and scratch their head or not. But they should see work that amazes and excites them, confounds them,